And there we go. Welcome, dear listeners, to another episode of From Depression to Expression. I was just to say the Oliver Shearer Show with Andreea Tamas, which I have reached out, I don't know, a year, 1.5 years ago. And I think we already agreed to have an interview. So finally we make it, and it might be actually on the right timing for me to talk to you, because in the pre-show, which I still don't have and I'm still working on to have like something live so people can listen into before we start hitting the recording button, was transitions. So, and I'm in a big transition, and Andreas told me there were a lot of transition in her life and another big one coming up. So welcome, Andreea.
Thank you so much, Oliver. I'm so excited to be here and to share with you and your audience about my biggest transitions in my life and how I go about them. Like, how do we go through these transitions in a way that we feel empowered, that we come from a place of grace and love and not the scarcity of the unknown that a transition can bring with it.
Yeah. The fear factor of the unknown. So now I haven't really introduced you. So what are you doing? I mean, we know we have met on Mind Value somehow, Facebook group or a quest or whatever it was. And you're Romanian, and my ex-wife is Romanian, but you live in the US. But what are you doing? Coaching, right? Or
Yes, I am a coach, and actually, my business is called Sacred Transitions. Because what I do, I help people, I guide them to go through these, I would say, more challenging transitions, the biggest transitions in their life, either like moving to a new country, starting or ending a relationship, going through the loss of someone close to, or literally quitting their job and starting their business. So I help them how to go through these transitions in a way that they can actually look back to that time in their life and for them to feel proud of the way they showed up. That's a really big factor for me, because I feel that many times when we go through these challenging times, we tend to don't show up as our best self. And my purpose and my mission, it's like, how can we actually find the magic in the change while we are in it? So when we look back at it, we are proud of who we have been in that moment.
Okay, that beautiful introduction. And I mean, of course, I've checked everything out, but for me, it's 11 at night, and it's dark and everything. You can see that when you watch the video on YouTube. If you listen audio, it's dark. I just said, Andrea, it's kind of weird after the 2 months of having light until 11:30 to have the darkness. So I might be a little bit off hook, who knows, because it's so late. And let's get started more into my traditional way of asking, which is, I tend to ask the people which are the first time on my show, on whatever show I have, to describe themselves with 3 words, like they're now, right? And why they choose those 3 words.
Yes, okay. So right now, the words that would define me would be love, challenge, and healing.
Oh. And why those 3 words?
Yes, and the first one, love, it's because I feel that one of my purposes here is to really come from a place of love in everything I'm doing and help others find that love within. Because everything, it starts with self-love. If we are not able to appreciate and love ourselves, then we cannot have that expectation from others around us, because the people around us, they treat us no better than how we treat ourselves. So I feel like it starts with that, with love. And when we come from that place of love and we ask ourselves, even when we are challenged, what would love do right now? I feel like it can change the whole trajectory of the actions that we are actually taking.
Wow, yeah. I have to ask you, when did you realize that? Do you have a
I
moment? Is it like a Satori or a Kensho moment?
Hmm. I would say in the last year, after I have been through with my partner through a very, very challenging time in my life where he dealt with cancer and I was next to him in his last moments. And in those last few weeks, those last few days, I realized that all he was wanting to do and emanating was pure love. He just wanted to give that to everyone around them and receive that. And during the hardest moment in my life, I was able to experience the purest love and to give in such a selfless way because I dedicated myself fully to him and to his healing. So in those moments, I realized that all we want as humans is to give and receive love. Like that's the core, that's the essence of what we all want.
Wow. And you said that was last year when he was in this really bad situation. But you had, a boyfriend. So how is this love different to how you looked at love before that situation, that time?
Hmm. Before we had to deal with this really challenging time, all the humanness was coming in, like all the triggers of like, oh, I'm doing more, you're doing less, and all the things that I feel like we are searching within a relationship and in the other person to fulfill our needs. And I feel like I've been a lot in that space where I'm like, just like, oh, he should do that with me, or I'm expecting him to be in a certain way for me to be happy in this relationship. When in fact, when we take a step back and we just start looking at ourselves and ask ourselves, like, what is it that I'm really seeking right now? What am I seeking in this relationship? What is it that I need right now? And when we are able to come with an answer and ask ourselves, how can I actually give that to myself? Because when you are able to give to yourself whatever you need, then that's when the expectations drop that that person next to you should be in a certain way. It drops, and then you are able to see the person next to you for who he really is and not for who you think it should be.
Yeah, that's really deep. I mean, we are from depression to expression, and I think we probably will go deeper in there. But right now, let's keep that here and look at the second word challenge, right?
Challenge, yes. I feel the way I grow the most in my human self right now, it's by being challenged. For me, challenge equals growth. So I look at like how can I challenge my beliefs? Like what I perceive about the world, about myself. Like is that belief serving me? How can I challenge myself in a physical way? Like what can I do to push myself out of my comfort zone, because I know out of the comfort zone is where the growth is. So growth is a huge value for me. And I know in order for me to grow, many times I need to challenge myself. And that means being out of your comfort zone, being out of the ordinary and to become extraordinary.
Yeah, I just see so many Mind Valley quests here. So how much, yeah, should I ask that question? Did you work on Mind Valley, or you were a member?
I did, and I still do. Right now I'm a regional ambassador. So I've been a volunteer for quite a few years now, and right now I'm a regional ambassador, USA ambassador.
Okay, so how much did this challenge mindset, or growth mindset, or personal improvement mindset, I mean, whatever you want to call it, right? And then spirituality and business. In the end, the language is the same. It's just the words we use are different.
Yes.
I mean, I see it as a business engineer going so deep into spirituality. I'm like, yeah, but we learned that at university when you do business engineering. But you don't look at it from a spiritual point of view or a mystical point of view. So how did this Mind Valley quests and teachings change? Or was it always there? Was it like little Andreea was always challenging everything, or?
Oh no, I wish she would have been there for my whole life. But I always had this desire of growing, and I felt like the majority of people that I have next to me growing in Romania, and then my family and so on, I felt like I'm not in the same resonance with them, because I've always like seen myself like more bold, taking risks and just wanting things differently, you know. And I grew up Catholic, which, if you know about religion, Catholic, it's a pretty strict religion. So after I left from home, I had a lot of like shame, guilt around who I'm being as a person. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to be this like perfect human being in order for God to love me. So after I left from home, I distanced myself a lot from the church and from the religion, because I'm like, it just doesn't feel right. I just don't believe that's how God wants us to feel that shame, and to think that, oh my God, I'm a sinner. I sin every single day with whatever I'm doing, pretty much, with the church. So after I had my near-death experience back in 2015, after a year or so, after I got away from the shock and everything that happened and being angry at what happened, I really started my quest of like, oh my gosh, I've been given a second chance on this planet. That means there is a purpose for me. So I really started searching for my purpose. And in 2017, I discovered Mind Valley by just searching on YouTube mindset videos, because I had no idea. Like, I never had any entrepreneurs next to me, no like people that were into growth or personal development, nothing. So I literally like started from zero. And that's when I discovered Mind Valley, and I immediately like got into it. And I can say that Mind Valley, it's like the catalyst, the beginning of like my transformation, because they introduced me to spirituality, which I related so much to it, like to the unity, like being all one, all connected, interconnected, and all the things that spirituality gives you, that I finally felt free to believe in something bigger than myself.
Yeah, now that you mentioned that, Catholic in Romania, a lot are Orthodox or Greek Orthodox, yes. Russian Orthodox. Yesterday on LinkedIn, someone wrote a part about, and again, right, spirituality, religious, personal growth, whatever you want to call it. And he was saying, don't look at, I don't remember exactly how, but something about the bad things in life are bringing so much gold. I don't remember his words because I hear it in so many different versions, right? But he's like, Jesus guided him. The prayer to God guided him. And that because almost divorce brought him the best marriage ever. A job, firing on a job got him the dream job of his life, and so on and so forth. And I could see he is praying to God, to Jesus, to the Bible, and you come and say the spirituality was helping you to raise and all these things. And today on YouTube, because I look at near-death experiences and stuff. I had 2 interviews with people which died, and one of them over 10 days every day, and she remembers the first and the last day, and more things came back to her the last year. I haven't talked to her much lately, unfortunately. And so I saw this YouTube video, and what did I want to say? Yeah, I'm tired now.
Spirituality and religion and what we believe in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was just like that he was told by 19 different clairvoyant or seers that he was walking on earth with Jesus as one of his apostles. And he was a Catholic, but not really deep. And he didn't really believe it. But there were people doing some reading for someone, and they stopped doing the reading, went directly to him and said, "You walked with Jesus." And he's like, "What the fuck?" Right? So he did a past life regression with hypnosis, and he was there when Jesus was put on the cross. And it is really like this. It doesn't matter what you believe in, right? If
No.
it's spirituality, if it's religion, if it's personal growth. And I just mentioned this one. It just came up in my head now because of what you mentioned. And yeah, exactly why. Because you said you felt like you had the need to be perfect. That's why it came up. Yeah. He remembers parts, right, of Jesus and his resurrection after dying and stuff like that. And he said, for Buddhists, that's normal. And all these kind of things. And he said, just like Jesus's teachings were so simple that humans could not understand them. They had to make them complicated. And that's how religion started.
Yes.
Because Jesus was basically love, right? Love yourself, love the others, come from love. Basically, that's it. Yeah. Of course, there's more to that, but that's the core of it. And that's what you hear from many spiritual teachers, which also like Eckhart Tolle and Aaron Apke, which has also been very deep in Catholic and then went east and then went the law of one from Ra and whatever, and then puts all together. In the end, it's really all that Jesus was the one coming from the heart, from love. Buddha or the Buddha, whatever his name was, I don't remember, was coming from the mind. And I don't remember where the others come. So yeah, the Catholic should be coming more from the heart and less putting fear into your heart that you're not perfect, right?
Yes, and it's like, everyone is going to have a different experience with like being Catholic, with spirituality, with whatever it is, because it's based on where we grew up, on the society, on our family, and there are so many different factors that is going to influence that. So it's not a matter of like comparing your journey or thinking, oh, I should be spiritual or I should be Catholic or believe in a certain thing. It's really like going on your own journey and see what is it that resonates with you, what is it that feels good for you. Because for me, it's like I believe there is a higher power, and it doesn't matter how you name it. Yeah, you can call it God, the divine universe, whatever you want. Like I believe in all. I believe there is just a higher power, that there is way more than what we are able to see physically with our eyes. And by believing in that, by having that faith and that higher power connection, it helps me go through life with so much more faith, purpose, and love. That's what it is for me. And as long as I can come from that and not from a place of like judging, fear, and you should be in a certain way, or thinking that my way is right and yours it's wrong.
Yeah,
that really doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's the other thing he also mentioned, right? That the religion then started saying my way is the right way. And now I just unfortunately, I opened the news, and I shouldn't do that. It's just when I'm bored and I want to distract myself, I open the news. And like Putin is the evil and Europe is the good. I'm like, who knows? Why are we saying we are the ones right and they are the ones wrong? And we had so many years where that wasn't actually really so strong. But since Corona, I have the feeling this I'm right, you're wrong has been increasing again. We have been separated.
Separation. Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, but people, there's not a universal truth. Unfortunately not. At least that's what I learned through my journey the last 3 years with Mind Valley, that there's not a universal truth, because as you said, we have our upbringing, we have our cultural, our studies, our parents, our friends, the movies we watched, the books we read, the people we listen to on podcasts, whatever you want, which influence how we perceive the world, which then gives the truth for us. But there might be so many subjects between Andreea and me where your truth is different than my truth. So now which truth is the right one? And then we have another 2-3 people coming with it, and then we have a big mix.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's what I've learned throughout these last years. It's really like so important not to label things as being good or bad, or I'm right, you are wrong, and really allow yourself to go into the world, into a conversation with an open mind where you are able to hold other people's perspectives. It doesn't mean you have to agree with them or accept them. It's just looking at it like that's purely their perspective, that's their truth. That doesn't mean it's yours as well. And knowing to separate the truth and not taking it personally when someone's truth doesn't align with yours.
Yeah, I just have a few questions, which I don't take now. I write them down on that subject there. Let's look at the healing part, because I love challenge and healing. What is the healing, or where's the healing coming from?
Yeah, so my healing started a few years ago when I started on this personal development. And the reason I started on this path was because for many years, I was very numb. I couldn't feel anything. Like, no matter what was happening in my life, either good or bad, if we want to label it that way, the experience that I was having, I was not able to feel neither joy or sadness or whatever it is. And then I started asking myself, like, why is that? And I was like in a constant search for the external happiness. No, like, oh my gosh, when I'm gonna have that job, that's when I'm gonna be happy. When I'm gonna make that much money, that's when I'm gonna be happy. And I was like constantly looking and postponing my happiness in the future, hoping those things are gonna help me feel something.
Is it like opening a door? What did you feel like? It's opening a door, or it's filling up a gap, or what was it?
I was hoping it's going to fill a gap. The gap for me was like no feelings, no expression in this lifetime. And it's such a sad way to live that way, because while yes, it was hard for me to get hurt because I was not able to really get attached or these kind of things, it was also the fact that I wasn't able to feel the joy, feel the excitement, feel the love, and give it back to others. And the numbness, it was like a coping mechanism that I developed at 14 years old when my mom left from home, and I was left with my father and one of my brothers. And at 14 years old, I had no idea how to deal with what was going on. So I did what I knew best, which was shutting myself off and numbing myself so I'm not feeling the huge pain that was going on in my life. And then at 20 something years old, I realized that that's not the way I want to continue living. So I started doing a lot of digging and started working with a lot of healers, therapists, and I've done a lot of different modalities in the hope of starting feeling again. And I did. I think I've had a year after I started my healing journey, a year where I was just crying almost every single day. And I didn't even know why, because I started opening myself up, and all the pain, all the sadness, the anger that I suppressed for so many years it started coming to the surface.
Oh.
And that
Did
preparation, go ahead.
yeah, it was just like when you said you in the first moment you cried and you didn't know why, and then you went deeper. When did you realize it was because you closed in when your mom left?
Uh, so the first time it was when I was 21 years old. And it was the first time I came to the States in the summer. And we were like, the summer was ending, everyone was saying goodbyes, and a friend of mine was like, oh my god, everyone was crying, and I was the only one that was like, oh, it was great, but that's it. And she was like, it's not normal that you're actually not feeling anything right now when everyone is so sad, we are separating. So that was the first time it was like brought to my awareness to start questioning, like, why am I really not feeling anything? Because I just thought like, oh, that's how I am. And I'm just a tough person that doesn't really attach, and that doesn't really feel much. I thought that's how I am. And then after I started working with healers and I started doing like hypnosis and all these things, it took me back to, oh, the fact that I'm not really feeling much, it's because I numb myself. And through the hypnosis, going to with a subconscious mind and so on, it took me back to when I was 14. So I did a lot of like journaling, introspection, and really the most important thing I would say is for you to want to go there. Because once you start digging it and you start going to those places that you have suppressed and ignored for so many years, it's gonna be really hard. Because as I said, I think I had a year when I cried almost every single day. And there were moments where I just didn't even know why I'm crying. I'm like, I just feel like crying. I don't know why, but I just want to cry. And to allow yourself, to give yourself permission to cry without judging it, without making it wrong that you are crying, and knowing that crying means releasing.
Yeah.
So that's how it started for me. And now continuing on this healing journey, from this trauma that I just had with my partner, that what we have been through in the last year, where I was his caregiver for a full year, and then for him transitioning on the other side, it's been a huge impact in my life. And what I'm really aware of right now, it's like I don't want to numb myself again. So being on this healing journey of allowing myself to feel everything that comes, so I don't go into the same place that I've been before.
Yeah, but that's you probably did that reinforcement before you were aware that you actually numbed yourself, right? And now
Yes.
you became aware that you were numbing yourself because you wanted your mom, as as a 14-year-old girl, not yet fully grown up, to emotionally or whatever physically teaching you. Now you were aware that you do that. That is really deep. Wow.
And another thing I want to say about healing, it's really not to look at it that it's a one and done thing. I feel like once we start on the healing journey, it's something we go through for the rest of our life, because there are always going to come things our way. Life is going to throw things at us that is going to help us grow, and we're going to have the opportunity to heal things within us, I think, for the rest of our time being on this planet. Because I know when I started on my healing journey, I was like, oh my God, I'm just going to work with this healer. I'm going to do a few sessions or some hypnosis and whatever, and I'm going to be healed. And I don't want you to fall into the same trap that I did, because it's really like a constant dedication and work towards that. And it doesn't have to be hard work. I don't want you to look at healing that, oh my God, is this thing that I have to do for the rest of my life and it's so hard. No, it's like, how can you look at it with like curiosity, with actually like, how can I make my healing fun like pleasurable, because healing doesn't have to be just pain and crying. It has also the other side of it, which is the beauty that when you open your heart, the feelings that you get to feel when you're like, oh my God, I feel for the first time, I'm able to like feel oneness, to feel like pure love for the first time in my life. And that's the other side that comes with the healing.
Yeah, I was while you explained it, I can see for me, it's also like there's many things coming up. Like one is like the green and the red pill from the Matrix, right? As soon as you start to realize that this is a lifelong journey, because life is bringing up the next challenge, the next trauma, the next part you have to heal. And if you have healed your life's trauma, past life things will come, or ancestral things will come up. And you don't know why you suddenly have these issues, because there's nothing in your life that shows until then you go to whatever family sessions and family settings and whatever they're called, and other shamans, and like, oh, your grandfather down your mother's side has blah blah blah, and or whatever, 10 generations. I mean, there's like the emotional code. I was watching a thing like 12 generations down your father's side, they have this and this trauma, and that's why you feel like that. And she's like, Jesus, it makes sense. But it also feels like, oh fuck, it's, you know, it feels like a heavy cloak.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be. If you make it a heavy cloak, it will be a heavy cloak. If you make it a fluture, if you make it a butterfly, it will be like a butterfly. It will be like, wow, what can I release next time? And that's where I am. I'm really swinging between the heavy lead cloak, which is really dragging me down for. Sometimes I'm actually can see I'm really down for half a day, and then I'm really good for another 2 days. Sometimes I'm down for 3, 4, 5 days, and then I'm only good for half a day. But I have the feeling, for me, lately it goes shorter and shorter. But it's not so good for some friends when they write to me something how you are when I'm down, because then like I'm fully in the victim mode, and then I get like all these messages, don't be in the victim and blah blah blah, whatever I tell you. but they get shorter and shorter, these episodes. So it's really like I did a quest with about intuition, the sixth sense. What's her name again? Coquette.
Sonia.
It's like the American Canadian girl. She's older. She's living from
Sonia. Sonia is her name.
Yeah, Sonia. Yeah, she's also Romanian in whatever generations back. She's mentioning it in one of her classes. She had to go to Romania, and she was not sure, and she listened to the intuition and stuff like that. So it's really funny. She's really listening to whatever comes through. Whatever, I'll do it. It sounds completely wrong. I'm waiting here. The airplane left, but the airplane comes back, and there's space for her to get back on the airplane, right? And she says, I wonder, is like a door opener, right? Like, and Michael Beckwith, we talked about before, he's also, what beauty lies on the other side of this darkness that is presenting itself. These are probably two things you can help to remove the heavy lead cloak a bit, and look at it more in wonder. Red pill, green pill, that. And yes, as I said, there were so many things. Now I talked myself out of my thoughts. But what comes up now was when you said crying is a release, right? It's not something bad. And I'm just thinking sometimes of my daughter. She's crying a lot. And then I'm thinking, what is it? But she's also judged by her mother. And I know her mother doesn't mean bad. Like, why is you emotional, blah, blah, blah. Why do you always cry? And I can see it affected her brother, which has a harder time to cry. And you're a woman, right? And I'm a man. And it was in 2019 when I went to a retreat where I just could finally cry. There was a man, which I'm going to hopefully meet next Monday. We plan to meet so I can help him. And I didn't know him. And I had to hug him because I was crying. I'm like, you know, that energy he must have transmitted of love and unconditional and non-judgmental beingness. And for me, it was just like the allowance that I was able to go to a retreat. That was before I found Mind Valley. Actually, I found Mind Valley just after that. So the doors opened, right? The synchronicities and the next path. So, like this, I was holding it back. I still don't know why I was holding back the crying. And I know many times when I watch a movie, I need to cry, but I cannot. And I try to open up more and more, right? Because now I'm alone, right? So this really a release.
Yeah, and I want to encourage you and your listeners to really like ask yourself and be curious about that, like wonder why do I have a hard time crying? What do I tell myself about when someone is crying or when I'm crying? So really be curious and do a little bit maybe of journaling or meditation around it to see what beliefs you are holding around it. Because a lot of times, especially as you said, as a man, like you have been told it's not okay to cry. And when someone cries, automatically you try to go to that person and be like, oh my God, why are you crying? Like asking them, why are you crying? And perceiving it as being something bad, that something bad happened. But if we are able to redefine how we look at crying and be like, oh my God, it's so beautiful that you are crying because you are releasing whatever it is that you are holding within your body, in your energy field right now. And you allow yourself, you give yourself that space, that permission to do that. And especially when you do it with other people around you, oh my God, it's like you don't only gift yourself that, but you gift other people the space of being vulnerable and being okay with that. And I just did that recently when I went to a music festival and I was talking with a woman, with a therapist, and I found out she's a therapist. And we had like a deep conversation, and I shared with her about my partner and how I was telling her that we were supposed to be together at that music festival. And that's why I went. And when I shared that with her, I just started crying. And she was like, oh my God, thank you so much for being vulnerable and for opening yourself up, because it just gives people permission to just be like, it's okay. We are all humans. We all experience different things, and it's okay to cry. It's okay to be vulnerable.
Wow, yeah. And so my question to you is now, right, for what you shared with, if you see someone else crying, what do you think are like the 1, 2, 3 things we can do to actually support it? One thing that came to my mind while I had the question while you talked was kind of ask if what is the word? I had the word in my head or the feeling. It's like to be the channel or to help that person to actually release the energy. Something like that came to my mind. But how do you do that? Not everyone is on a spiritual or religious path. Many say science is my religion, right? So they're not really up to these kind of things.
Yeah.
So how do you go to that person?
You don't have to. You don't have to be on a spiritual path in order for you to hold space. I would say what we need the most when we are in a vulnerable place, it's for the other person to hold space and not try to fix it. Because a lot of times when someone is crying or is vulnerable, we just try to be like, oh my God, why are you crying? Let me try to help you fix this. A lot of times that's not what we need. We just need to feel what we are feeling. And if it happens for you to be next to it, like hold space for it. And a way to hold space, safe space, it would be like, it's okay. It's okay to cry. I am here for whatever you need me. And not trying to solve it, because we tend to go into the solving mode right away. Like, how can I help this person? And sometimes the best way to help someone is to hold that safe space and tell them it's okay to cry. And it's safe for them to cry. Because a lot of times people don't feel safe to cry because they're like, the other person is going to judge me. They're going to perceive me as being weak. it's not okay to cry. So they don't feel safe, and because of that, they hold back.
Yeah, and now my inner voice said, but it's the same for the other side. To laugh, to dance, to move weirdly. I mean, just now with Sonia Cochet, she also said, because I was like, well, I did the course, everything was fine. Now everything is out of my head besides the I wonder. And I actually want to have a tattoo here on my left hand, which says I wonder. So I don't but one thing she also said is like doing like ha ha, to move in weird ways and dance freely for 2-3 minutes for yourself in whatever way you want to release, right? But we also feel judged by people if we do that outside, or better said, we judge people when we see them dancing in weird ways. I was like, have you seen that person? Why is he doing that? Why is they laughing like that? Don't I see they annoy other people?
Yes. And how I look at judgment, and from what I've learned, is that judgment is something that comes automatic. It's like, it's in our human nature that judgment, it is going to happen no matter what. We're gonna judge others and others are gonna judge us. It's not something that we really can stop, but it's something that you can become aware of. And for example, when you judge other people, it's like, what is the weight and the meaning you give to that? Are you just gonna look at like, oh, it's just a thought, I don't really care to dwell on this or give it any power, and you let it pass? Or you're like, oh my gosh, like that person, what is doing? And you go into a spiral, a negative spiral. And it's the same with other people. Like when they judge you, it's like, I know we put a lot of weight on what other people think and say about us. And unfortunately, that's how we've been programmed, to care more about what others think and say about us than what we perceive as being true to ourselves. So it's really like when you are afraid of other people's judgment, to remember that you've heard this so many times, that people judge no matter what, even if you're doing something right or wrong from your perspective, and to ask yourself, like, what does it feel true to me to do right now? Not what other people want you to do or you think. It's like, it's even with that, it's the stories we create in our mind. It's like what we think people expect from us, but we don't even know like the truth of that. What people expect from us is just the stories we create in our mind about it.
Yeah, the stories and the perception. So let's go away from the crying and judging and let's go back a little bit to the transitions. I have more introduction questions. That was just the introduction questions we worked on. So you mentioned near-death experience, the passing of your partner. Now we heard the story a bit there. It's when we talked before for the preparation or chatted, you also said depression, that's something you can share about. So yes. What is the story you can share around depression? Is it the numbness you already shared, or is it something?
So I have two around that. And the first one, which I didn't even realize, the first depression I had was when my mom left at 14 years old. And I didn't realize that I was depressed at that time. But my reactions around that was, I remember I didn't have a safe space where to cry. I didn't have anyone around me to support me emotionally. Like I felt very, very lonely in that time. And I remember during the night when I was feeling so overwhelmed by what was going on with my mom, with my dad, I remember just like putting my head into the pillow and screaming into the pillow and crying so no one can actually hear me, because during the day, I was just showing this really tough person that, oh, I'm good, I'm a good kid, you know, I'm responsible, I've got it all together. That was the mask I was wearing. And in the night, I would just feel where I would just ask God, because I was connecting with God at that moment, like, why is this happening? Why is this happening to me? Because at that moment I was like, I'm the victim and this is happening to me. So my depression was really at that moment, the numbness, the not having the emotional support. And I didn't have anyone to talk to about what was going on. So because of that, I internalized everything inside my body. That's why when I started the healing journey, it was so hard because everything was suppressed in my body. And then the second moment I dealt with depression was actually when I moved to United States. I was 24 years old when I decided I'm doing it. I'm moving here. I have no family, no friends, no nothing. But I had this big pull of like moving to United States. And one reason for that was because my mother and my brothers were living in Italy and my father in Romania. And I always felt that I am like in between them. And I'm like, I don't want to choose neither one of you. I'm going far away. So it was also like a form of escape for me. And after I moved to the States, into the place where I'm at right now, Lake Tahoe, it was like a 180 change for me. Like I started working super hard. I didn't have friends, no traveling. It was like a total different lifestyle than what I had in Romania, where I was surrounded by thousands of friends. I was having a lot of fun. I was traveling. So my life like drastically changed. And the first year after I moved here with no friends, I was just asking myself constantly, like, have I done the right decision to move here? Because it was so hard. It was such a hard transition. I couldn't relate to people, to food, it was like everything. It was so different. And I was like constantly asking myself, have I done the right decision to move here? But then I would remind myself, I always have the possibility to go back if I don't like it. So I knew I always had that possibility, but I told myself I'm gonna give it a try and I'm gonna do my best to make it work. And I did. But it was very hard, and the depression was like no family, no friends, working super hard, all kind of different jobs that I didn't necessarily enjoy, but I did it because we do that, especially when we move to a new place, and just dealing with all those changes that are coming from different way and not having the tools, you know, because at that moment I didn't have any tools. I didn't know how to deal again with those big changes and transitions in my life.
Wow. So yeah, you said at 21 you had the first experience that you were numb. So the first part of depression was kind of, when did you start doing this trauma healing therapy? Was that at 21 or was that after the?
No, it was back in 2017 when I was actually introduced, like when I found Mind Valley. And from there, slowly, I started like, oh, connecting and being introduced to this world of like healers and hypnosis and all these things. Probably like 2018, 19, it's when I started on more of this healing
Oh,
journey.
like me, but you seem much lighter than for me. It was 2018, 18. I started with NADA, acupuncture, and
Wow.
cognitive training. Change the negative thoughts to positive thoughts. While my therapist from the city was doing the metacognitive training, and she's like, oh, it's not negative or positive thoughts, it's thinking too much, which makes you depressed, or many people. That's why the mad scientists and the creative people and the intelligent people are normally the ones which are more depressed, because they think more. And not
Yeah.
necessarily negative, but it eventually goes negative, right? Because you don't stop thinking, so it just continue. That was for me 18, 19. I started. I also did 2 hypnosis, but I didn't see anything. It was just being there for 1.5 hours and just being really relaxed. She was actually surprised how relaxed I could be, but it wasn't anything that I saw or felt anything. I don't know if that's just the way of hypnosis I had, or if it's just the layers of blockages I have. But that means basically you went through 2 depressions before you even started any healing process.
Yes.
So what is depression for you? You mentioned a few things like suppressed feelings and emotions in your body, but how would you describe, in your words, depression?
So for me, it was really like I was overthinking. I was such an overthinker. I was overthinking. I was not able to be in touch with myself, with my feelings. I was not able to be by myself. Like I was constantly looking for distractions to be with other people, to not have the opportunity to just be with my feelings and with my thoughts. That was like another thing for myself, where like I had no relationship with myself. And now I'm a big believer, and that's a huge factor on how we interact with the world, or based on the relationship you are creating with yourself. So those things, and then the fact that for me, like finding all kind of distractions, and for me was always busyness. Like I was like either working super hard, studying super hard, like some busyness, and not finding happiness in anything. Like no matter what's happening, no matter if you are accomplishing, if you are achieving, no matter what's going on, you are not really finding happiness. So you're just keep searching for that happiness outside yourself, and getting disappointed over and over again.
So yeah, the depression is basically externalizing happiness.
Yes, that's how it was for me.
Yeah, and as you said, overthinking, because it tried to, so it's basically called ADHD, right?
Yes.
Right. Sometimes I ask myself, I mean, I'm diagnosed super heavy ADHD, and the university hospital or whatever it is said 1.5 years ago or something like that, that I will not be able to work at the place full time, only if I find the right people and the right work to do. I'm like, yes, obviously, because I don't change the mindset, but if I can change the mindset, then but they don't look at it that way, right?
No.
You're labeled, and so that's why I like the shamanic way, or the traditional Chinese medicine, or the Ayurvedic way, or whatever, Native Americans. They all look at it different. They say you're not, or Einstein, don't judge a fish for climbing a tree.
Yeah.
How many times do we hear that? And yet I'm over and over judged again. And I think in my case, I started to do the overthinking. I don't know what was in your case the overthinking. I mean, you said you were looking for the happiness on the outside, but do you know, when you go deeper down, where that comes from?
So for me, overthinking, when I look back, it was due to the fact that I wasn't really able to trust myself, trust my abilities, trust the ability to make decisions, and trust and go with my own decisions. Like I was constantly, when I had to make a decision, especially if it was a bigger decision in my life, I would like talk with everyone around me to give me an answer, instead of me taking the responsibility for my own life. That was easier. I would just be like, give me the answer, so if it goes wrong, I'm not going to blame myself. I'm going to say, oh, I just did whatever my friend advised me. So it's like constantly giving your power away to these other people, and then you just live a life that it's based on what other people think you should do.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, you're a very big mirror for all the people which understand what I mean with that. Um, and so you went to the astrology. So you read the astrology today. I should not go out without a umbrella and cross the street, which is busy. Uh, then you had the all season astrology. You went to a mentalist. You went to whatever, right, to tell you exactly what to do.
Yeah.
Uh, then how do I form that? Geez, that's so weird. And, you know, after doing the sixth sense with Sonia, and when she said the intuition comes in kind of energy, it's not really a word, it's not really a picture, it's not right. For some people, it's clairvoyance, clairaudience, clair whatever, and for me, it's kind of like a. And the question is also like that. I'm like, fuck, how do I put that in words now? Um, let's try to find out. You externalize the decisions for your life, so you live the life other people saw you to do because they were judging you. Oh, look at Andrea, she's such a cute girl, and blah blah blah. She should not work on a construction site or be a bodybuilder, right? For example,
Yep.
but that's been your path. I don't see it like that when I look at you. But so they have, according to Jeffrey Allen, right? They looked at the pictures which are hanging around your aura, which then filtered, plus their own pictures, which filter everything they see, and gave you advice, and you took it.
Yeah.
And the question is, how did you take back your life to know who you are? Because listening to other people, you do not know who you are anymore, right?
Oh, 100%. I had no idea who I am. I had no idea. Like for so many years, if you would ask me, like, who are you? What are your values? What do you believe in? I couldn't give you an answer. I didn't know because everything I have done, it was just living based on what other people were believing is right or wrong. So I had no idea who Andrea is. So for me, it was really going on a discovery and asking myself, like doing meditation, taking time in stillness, taking time to do activities by myself, which was huge for me. Like, want to just go on a hike by myself, just go on a movie, just go on a dinner, just like do things by myself with anyone. That was like a huge revelation for me. And then really like going into this like personal development stuff, things like doing courses where I'm doing all kind of exercises to be like, okay, what are your values? And then I had to do that from like many different angles throughout the years to find out what my values are, and knowing that our values, they change in time based on who we are in that moment, what our priorities are. So not getting attached to, oh my God, these are my values for the rest of my life and I'm just gonna live with them. No, like staying flexible and knowing that your values are going to adapt and change based on how you are changing. So doing a lot of introspection and being curious, you know, and then when I had to do a decision, and I still find myself in those situations, don't get me wrong, it's not like, oh, right now, guys, I'm perfect and I'm great. No, I'm actually just faced right now with a really big decision on if right now is the right timing for me to do ayahuasca or not, because my energy healer just told me, Andrea, it's not good because you're in such a raw, vulnerable space because your partner just transitioned a few months ago. And it's not the best for you.
So my answer, it didn't even take a millisecond, and I just said yes. Inside it just came, the yes came like out, like who am I to say?
Yeah, so I'm still dealing with those things, but it's like going constantly back within and be like, what does it feel right to me? Like tapping into your heart, tapping into your intuition. And I know if you're like me, are like, oh, I'm so tired of hearing that. Sometimes you're like, just give me a freaking answer. You know, you just want an answer.
Yeah, write your own story, and yeah, you're just like such a big mirror. I mean, I mean, it was meant that we didn't talk for a year, right? I mean, otherwise I wouldn't see it all. It's just like a copy of me in those things. Not that my mom left that when I was 14 or something, but like this, asking
Certainly.
everyone else, doing all these different quests to find an answer, and like, yeah, why do you all these things? Because I want to find out how to get in there, in this fucking heart, in this belly, so it gives me an answer when I want to know what to do, because I don't know. But the more you say I don't know, the more you
The
close
more you
in, right?
don't know, and you reinforce that, you just reinforce that belief, I don't know, I don't know, and you just focus on that. And by doing that, you are blocking the intuition, you are blocking the answers. So it's like, for me, like what I'm planning to do even today, it's like going into stillness, and really feel in my body, what does it feel right for me. And the way to do that, it's like, when, for example, for me, when I say I'm gonna go to ayahuasca, does it feel like contracted? Like, do I feel fear, or do I feel like when I say I'm gonna go to ayahuasca, it feels like expanded, it feels like excitement? Like, how does it feel in your body? Because our body holds a lot of wisdom and can hold a lot of answers.
Yeah, and that's again, sorry that I go back to Sonia. Now that I look at you, she's like, the intuition will have the sparkle in the eyes and the smile on the lips.
Yeah.
And the barking dog, which is our ego, the untrained barking dog, will be like, and there will be no life in the eyes, and there will be no smile in the face. And just when you had this example, even though you try to say, I mean, on the video, at least for me, it seemed like when you talk like, I shouldn't go because I feel heavy, you still had this smile in the face. Sorry to say. You're more light when you talk. That's what I see. And I don't want to influence you on.
Yes, I know. And it's like, for me, ayahuasca, it's a challenge. Yes, it's like, I know it can go either way, and it can take me like into my darkest place to see all the shadows, or I can have this blissful experience. And going in it, it's a matter, like as I was talking today with my therapist, it's being okay with no matter what the outcome is. So releasing the expectations of how it should look like, this experience.
Yeah, you have to be open, because I did ayahuasca 2019 before I started between my retreat and Mind Valley. It probably opened me up to some of these things more, but I was fearful in my subconscious, and that blocked the whole thing. And where intention goes, energy flows. I mean, for me, it started with, I started seeing fractals and stuff, and then I started seeing skulls. I'm like, seriously, do I have to have a horror trip? And then the skulls were just puffing away. And then it was like a mushroom trip I did I never took mushrooms before, but I took it like a month before to kind of learn to let go into, a hallucinogen. I'm like, I did a mushroom trip before. Why do I get the same again? And then that was gone as well. So you get what you ask for, kind of, right? But that's with the whole life. If we go away from now, if you want to listen to more about ayahuasca, that's like 2 or 3 episodes ago. When I talked to Andres, which I met on my ayahuasca trip. He's doing a network so people can find integrational therapists. So when you have done San Pedro, ayahuasca, LSD, whatever it is, for spiritual growth, or even though if you just did it for fun and it ended up with you seeing yourself, right? And you don't know where to go because you're fearful to go to a doctor because they will put you into a locked room or whatever, or give you antidepressants, or do you hear voices? I'm like, yeah, my granddad, this is all true, right? So he does that. So then listen to that episode. I don't remember, episode number 20 or something. We are talking now to Andrea. Not that I don't want to talk about ayahuasca, believe me. You also mentioned something which I'm listening to a lot. It's the NDE, near-death experience. I was a bit confused when people said NDE, NDE. I'm like, what the fuck are they talking?
What does
Near,
it mean?
near-death experience in this case. If you work in a production, it means something completely else. If you're a doctor, it again means something else. And if you're a lawyer, I have no idea. So what was that? 2015 near-death experience.
2015. Yeah, it's a story that for many years I had a hard time saying because of the shame and guilt associated with it. So back in 2015, I was having 1 year since I moved to the United States. I moved to the States in 2014. And I went with my partner who transitioned a few months ago. I went to a music festival in Las Vegas, which is called EDC, a huge music festival. So what we did was, the majority of people do on these festivals, we took a substance called Molly, ecstasy. You can find it under different forms. And what I didn't know at that time, because until I moved to the US, I never did any type of drugs, not weed, nothing. So I was like so clean, so pure in that space. And when I did Molly at that time, I didn't know that I'm allergic. So I was allergic to a substance that drug had, methamphetamine, which is found in other forms as well. And I ended up having a seizure and being in a coma for 2 days, where I barely remember that night experience. I know more of what my partner told me about because he was next to me, and he literally saved my life that night because he called the ambulance. He resuscitated me because I almost choked with my own vomit. And I barely remember it. And it's not only from that night, but from that moment, I forgot a lot of things from the past. Like a lot of my memories pretty much got erased. And after that coma, I lived, I would say, like a whole entire year with a lot of fear that, oh my God, am I gonna be normal again? Because once you have a seizure, the risk of having it again, it's there. You can always have it. And I was like, am I gonna be normal again? I had terrible headaches for like a whole year. And I'm like, is it something bad neurologically going on in my brain that I'm not aware of? And then the medical bills, which I didn't have insurance at that time. And if you know anything about medical here in the States, you know, you go to the hospital without having an insurance, you are in debt for the rest of your life. So I was having huge medical bills that I had to deal with. So and then the shame, because I was like, I'm so shameful. I took a drug, and because of that, I almost died. So I didn't say the truth to almost anyone around me. Like I was telling to my friends and family that, oh, I had a food poisoning and that's why I was in the hospital. I didn't say the truth for many years because of that shame and guilt associated with taking a drug. And because of that, I almost died. So I had to deal with a lot of things, a lot of emotions and physical pain after that near-death experience, where the doctors literally said, Andreea, you are so lucky, you are still alive. And the fact that you don't have any repercussions on your body. Because when you have a seizure, it's so easy to have the left, the right side, something in your body not to function normal anymore. So at the beginning, I was super angry at myself, angry at the medical, angry at the doctors, angry at everything. Yeah. And after a year or so, after I was able to assess better, that's when I started realizing that, oh my God, money are nothing. Money, they come and go. Like money, you can make them. You can make as much as you want. Because I was mad that I had to pay thousands and thousands of dollars in medical bills. And I'm like, money are nothing. Those doctors literally saved my life. And that's not something you can buy with money. So I'm like, I'm so freaking lucky that I'm still alive. And that's when I started changing the way I looked at that experience. That's when I started searching for my purpose and be like, there has to be a reason why I'm still here on this planet, why I was given a second chance. And I started looking at it in that way instead of like, oh my God, I cannot believe that happened to me and I have to pay that much. And now I have these repercussions on my body and, all these things. I shifted the way I looked at it. And that changed the trajectory of my life.
Yeah, I can see like 2015, 16, 17, you came into Mind Valley. So like you said, yeah, 15, it happened. It took you a year. So after that, you basically found Mind Valley. Or
yes, I started like looking onto online courses. I'm like, I want to do something else than what I'm doing right now. And I was working in the restaurant industry, but I didn't know what. I'm like, I know there is something more I want to do, but I don't know what. So I started on like just going online without knowing anyone or anything and just starting buying courses. I pretty much just started investing blindly in myself without knowing in who, how, and so on. And I can look at those investments like, oh my God, I wasted so much money because there are a lot of courses I bought and never used. Or I can look at it like, oh, I bought that course who introduced me to this next thing, introduced me to the next step, introduced me to the next person. And I choose to look at it that way and to look at like, oh, if I'm taking one thing, one lesson out of it, then I took what I needed from that course, because I used to shame myself a lot from buying courses and not like finalizing them, not finishing them.
So there's more shame coming on there.
Yeah.
So shame is one of these energies you have let go, or you still have to let go.
I would say in the majority of places of my life, I had to let go of, and it's still showing up. Because guys, when we have these low vibrational emotions, energies, it's not that, oh, I became aware and I let go of it and it's not showing up anymore. That's not it. You become aware, it can show up in different areas in your life, but then it's like how much power you give it and how long do you stay in it. And it's something you were saying, Oliver, that sometimes you stay in your low points half a day, sometimes you stay a few days, and it's just a matter of like how long are you staying in that emotion. And then the faster you move out of it, it means that you have worked a lot around it and releasing it, but it doesn't mean when we release it, it's never gonna show up again. It's like, how long do you stay in it?
Yeah, it's kind of like testing, right? If oh, now it's too late for my Duolingo evening class. Damn it, my Romanian today. I didn't do Romanian. I just looked at the watch. No, it just came up because you said it, and then Duolingo came up because I tried to do a 30-day sequence. I do it since 2013, 14, but my daughter has like 80 days because they were traveling. So I'm like, I'm gonna beat her. And there's also this, you learn the new words, the new grammar, and it's repeated a lot, right? In the beginning, you get a lot. I mean, I do Spanish again. I did it Spanish from German or from English, and I said German, and now I'm back on English because my German, even though I'm Swiss German, somehow I feel more comfortable. And I'm like, come on, I got it. Yo hablo, du hablas, ella habla, él habla. And yo tengo, tú tienes, blah, blah. I got the system, so stop telling me. But, and eventually, right, in Romanian and much further, because I did more, and eventually comes up again, right? So it's the same with these emotions or these feelings or these experiences. You will be presented them a lot until you're like, I got it. Okay, thank you. I got it. I know. It's yo soy, not yo estás. Yo soy, right? And I got it. But down the road, it will come up again. I just tested you. And then it will come again. And you're like, you just answered soy, right? and then it's gone, right? So because now it's not bothering you, but in the beginning it's like yo soy, yo estás, yo, right? You ponder on it, but of course for me, working hard, going to the fitness center or learning a language or math, it's easier. It's these life lessons for me are kind of a mystery, to be honest, because I'm presented to them. I had lots of interviews, lots of classes, and I'm like, how the fuck have I still not understood that? I mean, I've learned a lot because I can see the mirror you give me in many things, and I'm amused sometimes about friends which tell me like, Oliver, you just put it back on me. This is wrong. I did this. I'm like, yeah, I just told you that you do the same, and you don't even realize that just by the message you send me now that you do exactly what I said as a, I thought, neutral, informative way. And so I'm starting to be amused, but still, right? So for the listeners, some people get it fast. I have friends, they never did any personal growth or spiritual anything, and they sat down, like a friend of mine, Spanish, he sat down, living in Switzerland. He just said, Oliver, I cannot meet you. And he sat there for 2 weeks, sick leave from home, felt everything. He felt all the things in his relationship with his wife, with his kids, with whatever. He just did it. I'm like, wow, Jesus. And I'm just absorbing all these classes and I'm still not sitting with it. Right?
Yeah, and this is where you are comparing your journey with his.
You should never do that.
And we have to know that we gonna understand certain things at different points in our life based on what we are ready for. That's why sometimes you hear a teacher and it's like, oh yeah, it's great what it's saying, but it doesn't really resonate with you because you are just not ready for that information. And later on, maybe a few years later, you're gonna hear it again, and maybe you're gonna hear it from a different teacher. And you are in a different space and you're like, oh my God, this is like life-changing information. And it is because you were ready for it.
Yeah.
So not judging what you understand and what you don't, and why he's doing it and I'm not, and purely be like, wherever I am, it's exactly what I need. It's not what I want, but it's what I need for where I'm at right now.
Yeah, and if this is the first interview you listen to, if you made it that far, that is, I guess if it's the first interview, probably we're dropping out before. It's also to understand this, this is can be very irritating when you hear that over and over. You get what you need, not what you want. But now I've listened also to some near-death experiences where people got out of the body and had contact with the matrix, with the oneness, with God, with their soul family, and so on and so forth. And there's so many different ways of looking at it. So some people say, yeah, there's a purpose and there's a soul family and we are meant to help each other out to grow as souls. So we're putting stepstones. And others say, there's nothing. There's just enjoy life. Just come from love, as I said, as Jesus says, just be love. Be loving yourself, accept yourself, right? Don't judge yourself. And all these things are just reflections of yourself. It's so weird. And there's nothing like, yeah, you're in the right place, blah 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 blah, but it's weird to say. It's again like an energy for me. It's kind of like an understanding which is hard to put in words. Everything is perfect. Yes, I could drive a Porsche, have a really good company, and do all these things if I would have learned the things. That's why I'm not there yet, because I haven't learned them. I haven't accepted them. I haven't let go of them. I'm still resisting them. Learning means that you don't resist it anymore. Like 1 + 1 is 2. No, 1 + 1 is 11. And if you resist to accept that 1 + 1 is 2, you will have problems whenever you do math or talk with people about it, right? So that's the resisting part. So when you let go and just accept as it is, you will get to the next step. You will get the next lesson. So another question I just had when you said near-death experience, you don't remember anything. So you didn't have
No.
any outer body experience or anything else. I mean, yeah, that's actually shitty. You came back with losing a lot of memory. I mean,
Yeah.
others I heard what you normally find on the internet is they come back and they feel like a different person, or they have information, or they see parts of their future life, or whatever. And for you,
Yeah.
what like is that memory still gone, or did it come back?
The memory of the seizure or
The
the
memory
near-death
you
experience?
lost during that period.
No, it's still gone. I have a lot of things in my life that I cannot recall, that I cannot remember. And it
Is
was
it a
so funny.
blessing, or is it something good for you because it will hold you back, or is it something?
Uh I I didn't label it in any way. I know at the beginning, I was looking at it like, oh my God, like there, like I've done all these things in my life that a lot of them I cannot remember, and it was at times when it was frustrating. But then I'm like, that means I can just experience again so many things like it is for the first time, which is just going to bring so much excitement and joy. And instead of looking, I'm like, maybe I also released and I don't remember certain things that were not helping me and were holding me back. So I'm like, I choose to look at it just with more like being neutral and being like, I don't think it's harming me in any way, and it actually might serve me.
Yeah, exactly. It just came up to me like 2015, and when you share, you remember 2014, your mom, you numbed yourself. When you were 24, the depression of being in a different culture, which is, I mean, I know Romania and I'm Swiss and I'm living in Denmark, and I got numbed by the problem is between Switzerland and Denmark, it's very similar, right? We even
Mm-hmm.
have the same, I mean, Alemannic base language. And it's similar in size and wealth and all these things, but there's so much difference. So coming from Romania to the US, and again, the US is not US, right? Living in Texas or Hawaii or Chicago or New
It's
York,
different.
it's so different, people. And I've not even lived there. I just have, through my network, just realized how much, just by
Mm-hmm.
talking to people, I can feel the difference. So, and then in 2000, and then you had the near-death experience where you were 2 days gone. You come back with headaches and the fear for a year. But then eventually you were like, you know what? It doesn't matter. It's and did that help you? Yeah, I mean, we probably should close down. I don't know how your time thing is. For me, it's after midnight as well. There's like this question about being in the moment. Everything is now. Kind of, did that open up because you realize that's just the past? Past is past. It's not the now.
Yeah, I would say that open up more for me with my partner in this last year, where when we found out he has cancer and he has stage 4,
Oh,
um, I went automatically into the worry of the future of like, oh my God, what is going to happen? Am I gonna lose him? Is he going to go? Like, and just going into the future in not a great one that I was presenting to myself, and just constantly living there. And then I was able, with my tools and everything that I have done in these past few years, that I can say it prepared me for this last year. Everything I have learned, all the healing I have done, everything, it helped me to show up in my life, in his life, in the most powerful way. I brought the awareness, and I'm like, I don't want to live in the future. I'm like, this is the moment I have with him right now. So I would do an exercise, and I would do different exercise that I was actually teaching my clients. I was applying what I was teaching my clients on myself this past year. So I utilized a lot of those tools to help myself to be present and to be into now and not to go into the victim mode where I ask myself, why is this happening? This is not fair. Why am I going through this? Why is he going through this? I never asked those questions.
Wow.
My purpose was purely to help him with everything I humanly could and be present and give him love.
Yeah, but it really looks like, I mean, from the outside, like these stepstones of growth and, you know, like the exam, as hard as it sounds, right? For some people, that sounds like very, wow, how can you talk that as an exam? We do not know why your boyfriend came here, if he just came here to actually give you the lessons that you grow as a person. We don't know. Might have been the soul of Jesus, which was your boyfriend. Who knows? Or Buddha, or another great being, which just came to be there for you so you can grow. Who knows? We don't know. But when I listen to you, it's like you share it with such a lightness. So it doesn't feel fake. It doesn't feel like you say it because you know that's the right thing to say. You say it because you feel it. And I think that's the most important. When you really feel it from inside, oh, what the fuck happened now? Sorry, your room just started.
I saw it.
And I'm having shivers now. Sorry.
Yeah.
There was like, let's see if it's on the video. I will have to remember to watch that part again. It was just lightning.
Yes.
It's full day. I can see the sunlight shining through your window, and it was just like lightning, like yellowish orange lightning going through the room. Don't know if that's a sign of I'm right or wrong, but I'm shivering. My hair is standing up, which it does naturally, but yeah, let's close that in with you talked about a lot of tools. Is there any call to action or advice to action or whatever you want to call it people could take from this talk, you know, to be present or non-judgmental or self-acceptance or whatever you feel like to share?
And what comes for me now is really not to judge your human experience. No matter what's going on in your life, to know that that's like a chapter. It's a period that you go through in your life, and knowing it's not going to last forever. But while you are in that chapter, how do you want to write it while you are in it? Like, who do you want to be? And that's something that really helped me last year when I had a session with my coach. He asked me, like, Andreea, during this journey that it's so hard and you don't know what the outcome is, like, who do you want to be during this journey? And I answered, I want to be a fucking leader. That was my answer. I want to be a fucking leader. And for me, I had to define, what does it mean for me being a fucking leader? And I defined, and it was showing up with integrity, showing up in a way that I know later on I'm going to have no regrets. And I have no regrets from last year because I know I gave my 110% in everything I did in regards with him. And probably that's where the lightness comes in, because I know I did above and beyond of what anyone could have done. So that makes me move forward with much more lightness, because I know I'm proud of the way I showed up. And that's my purpose of helping people with, to help them show up in a way that they have no regrets of who they have been in their past during the challenging moments.
Yeah, I definitely when you where intention goes, energy flows. So did you write it down anywhere? So you reminded yourself, because sometimes it's hard when you're not the leader, when you're not showing up in a certain way. Now you have this whatever meditation or this coaching session or this journaling, and you found these whatever 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things what you want to be in this situation, this life situation. Like me getting out of the house, and I haven't been able to get rid of the things, even though I had 3 months. Who do I want to be? Like, I wasn't really clear, right? I knew I want to get rid of the toys the kids don't need, but I wasn't sure what it is. Right? And then I'm asking my kids, what do you want? Because it's their toys. I could overrule. So it's like I lacked the clear intention in this 3 months, which I know I have to move out. So of course it becomes a chaos.
Yeah.
I gave it away and I said the universe will take care of it. God will take care of it. The matrix will take care of it. Whenever I felt like the things will be sold, 60% of the time they got away. But what did you do? Did you write it anywhere? Did you have it on your phone?
No, it was honestly more of a way of living. So I really embodied that. And the way I did that is like when I would find myself triggered, because I was so triggered in this last year. Oh my gosh, like so many things were brought to the surface with him in our relationship, me dealing with this huge challenge, me putting my business on pause, and everything I have done were a lot of triggers brought up to the surface. So was of like, okay, when I'm triggered, am I going to react based on the feelings I'm feeling when I'm triggered? Or I'm taking a step back and I'm assessing and I'm asking myself, in this moment, how do I want to show up? Who do I want to be in this moment? It's like more of like, especially when you're going through challenging times, it's really moment by moment, because you're gonna be very challenged. And it's moment by moment asking yourself, how do I want to show up right now? How would I feel good? Like taking a step back, doing whatever tool you can do. Like I would meditate, I would do a portal drop, I would do an anchoring. Like I have all these tools under my belt that I would utilize to be able to calm myself and not react based on the emotions I was feeling when I was triggered, and be like, okay, how do I want to show up right now?
Yeah. And of course, we don't want to pull it too much out. So people, if you do not have the tools, one of the tools is definitely to focus on your breath. If you feel triggered, I can see also what you said. It is, if you're not used to live moment by moment and assess the situation, it's very hard. That's why people say journal a certain way, certain questions every day until you get in a situation like that. Meditate every day when you feel good, because when you feel bad, it's kind of in your DNA, and it will be easier to meditate.
And what I found is like, especially if you are going through a challenging time, certain tools are going to work in certain moments, but sometimes it's not going to work. That's why for me, for example, it was important to have a lot of different tools under my belt. So I can be like, okay, I'm going to try tapping. Okay, this is not really doing it right now. I'm going to meditate. I can't meditate. My mind is too active. Then let me try this other thing. And you are like, keep reassessing, reevaluating what works for you in that moment, because what worked yesterday might not work today. So knowing and not putting like, oh, that tool is just not good. It's more of like finding what you need in that moment and what works for you in that moment.
Yeah. And that's why we need, or that's why coaches need coaches.
Yes.
And I would say Mindvalley is definitely a platform you can use to get at least in touch with a lot of tools, and learn them, depending on if you're learning chunky like me, which is going from one course to the next. I actually want to repeat them and go deeper, but then I just go to the next. But of course, they'll build up on top of each other as well, some of them. There's definitely other places. I mean, Tim Ferriss is talking a lot about that. Tony Robbins is a good platform. And of course, Andreea Tamas is another coach you could use if you go through a transition, right? As we try to keep it there, I think we went a bit left and right, but we talked about your transitions with the NDE, of losing all the memory, of your transition of getting completely numb because your mom left and you didn't know how to be vulnerable. I guess with a father in Romania, which is not showing emotions. I know that very well. There are some Romanian men I met which are completely different, but generally the experience I have from Romania, men don't show emotions. When I didn't sleep for a few nights and I exploded, my father-in-law back then looked at me like, why do you get crazy? I'm like, because I didn't sleep and I cannot handle my emotions. Like, just get over it. So I can imagine that it was very hard for you there. Then living in a culture shock, another big transition. And as I said, the NDE was basically, it feels for me like it relieved you of some memories. And you said it nice. You were able now to have the same experiences because you forgot that you already did it. Like, I've never been in a, what is it called? Like these big wheels which turn around, like the London Eye or whatever it's called. Yeah, Riesenrad it's called in German, the big wheel. I know it's called different in English. Sorry, guys, it doesn't come up. I've never been in there, but probably were every year. And now you could actually enjoy it because before you had no emotions doing it.
Yes.
And now you would feel the excitement. And then, of course, getting into the Mind Valley, learning a lot of these EFT tapping, meditation, breath work, and so on and so forth, grounding. And then having this really big, challenging other transition of losing someone you really love, but you were stepping up, becoming a leader and really applying these different tools, which just make you even stronger. And you have life experience in a way of also experience of actually feeling these things and going through these things, so you can help and understand other people and guide them and teach them and actually give those tools. So if what I meant before, if you don't have these tools, I'm sure Andreea can teach you a few of them and so you can learn them and then apply them whenever you will not have the same challenges, but similar challenges or different versions of those challenges. So with that, how can they find you or reach out to you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. It's Andreea Tamas Coaching, and I'm sure Oliver is gonna put some notes in the podcast.
Yeah, I've been taking some notes here anyway.
Another way on Facebook, you can reach out to me, Andreea Tamas. Very simple, and feel free to just like send me a message and become friends. I just love connecting with people from all over the world, and in October I'm gonna start traveling the world, so make sure you follow me to follow my journey, because I'm gonna go on a big healing journey throughout the world, and I cannot wait to share it with you.
Oh my God, yeah, that's on my I want to do list for years. And I move out as well, but my travel, I said 1 month, but that's just like me being safe and listening to other people, right? But I also have 2 kids and I really want to be there for them, so that's a challenge. Super, Andreea, this was really great. This I know I've been talking a bit weird stuff today, but it's also like 12:30. It's the next day for me. Thank you so much, and I hope we are connecting again and talk about other things. And I think we managed the topic of transition.
I think so too. Thank you so much for listening and for being with us and in our energy. And I cannot wait to connect with you.
Yes. And yeah, your listeners, you know what to do. Subscribe, like, comment, share, connect with us. And yeah, I'll actually say good night or good morning, good afternoon, and bye-bye.
Bye.